Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome Tuesday. So we are actually going to be working on simple interest. So as we know, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the month. Cannot believe it. Before you know it, it will be Halloween. Which I always feel that once you get to Halloween, the school year is almost halfway done. So if you are ready, make sure you have your paper and your pencil ready, and also get your questions ready. So if you're wondering, I am still selling my notebooks. They're still $10.29. And if you're interested, I do have courses at that $147. But let me show you what I can do in order for us to get to that next step. All right, so simple interest. So let me zoom in so you can get a better idea. So I'm going to actually show two things here. So we have our simple interest, which is your P, your R, and your T. So the P is your principal. So it's what you're starting off with. Then your R is going to be the rate. Now, if they put the rate, they usually start the rate off as a percent. And you have to change that rate into a decimal. Okay, so a lot of people put whatever the number is as a percent over 100 and then do the division. Or you can simply just start at that percent sign and move two places over to the left. And then you can go from a percent to a decimal. And the reason why it's 2, because we're dealing with 100%. That has 2 zeros. And the time is always based off of years, okay? So if they give you something that says 6 months, well, 6 months is half of a year. So they want you to input 0.5 or 1/2 for your time instead of the 6. Okay, so those are the little things that you have to look out for, because sometimes these simple interests are either word problems or they're just phrases. So as you guys are coming on in, hey Ace, hello Hustle, all right, Trap Star, here we go. So as you guys are coming on in, go ahead and give me a little tap so we can get more people on your FYP so they can come on in. So other part, when we get a little more intensified, that's when we're talking about compound interest. So compound interest, that's when we're actually going to be digging a little bit deeper. It's almost like, how many times a year are you getting this interest rate? This interest is a good type of interest, not like credit cards where you have to pay extra, almost like in the fee type of thing. So when you're looking at those, they're looking at how many times a year are you going to be gaining a little bit of money for whatever your investment is. But for today, we're going to be looking at the simple interest. So while you count, is this ASVAB? Yes, ASVAB, GED, ACCUPLACER, almost all of them have at least one or two simple interests. And plus, this is something that you do every day, okay, if you're thinking about making any kind of investments. Okay, so definitely. Oh, this is supposed to be a 1. So we'll do this. We'll take it with the 34. 100. All right. We're almost at that 1K. Once we get to the 1K, that's when I'm going to get started. Okay, hey Erica. Thank you, appreciate that. All right, so, boom. Let's take a look at our first one. So we're looking at $34,000. Okay, not doing these. Okay, so $34,100. Okay, and we're doing that at 4%, and we're going to do it for 3 years. So for simple interest, you're going to have your principal times your rate times your time. So the principal is what we start off with. So that's that 34,100. You're going to multiply by that rate. Now, the rate is 4%. So if I need, which I should, change that 4% to a decimal. So I'm going to put that above it. So in order for me to change 4% to a decimal, I'm going to start right here where the percent sign is. And then I'm going to move over 1, 2 for my decimal point. So right here at this gap, I'm going to put a 0. So 4% is the same as 4 hundredths. And the time has to be based off of years. So the years we're dealing with are 3 years. So we don't have to do any conversion. Now, if they said 3 months, we had to figure out what is the equivalent of 3 months compared to a year. So all we're doing now to figure out this interest, how much is the interest rate you're going to get after 3 years, all we're doing is multiplying. Okay, so let's see if I can get my handy dandy calculator here. Let's see if that shows up a little bit. Maybe if I slide over a bit. So you have your 34. Oops. Okay. Times your 0.04 times your 3. And that will give us our equivalent, let me do a little tilt, of the $4,092. So that's how much interest, okay, at a 4% for 3 years when you invest that $34,100. That's going to be your simple interest, okay? So don't think, oh, I'm rich. Yeah, no. Just keeping it and simple. So if you're saying, well, Audrey, if we can't use a calculator on the GED and the ASVAB, so how do I do this? Well, you're going to multiply your 0.04 times 3. And it doesn't matter with multiplication. You can multiply the 34,100 with the 0.04. You can do that first and then multiply your answer by 3. When it comes to multiplication, it's commutative. So I always all right, if you want to do 3 times the 34,100 and then multiply by 0.04, you can do that. Okay, so you're probably going to do it by hand. So what happened to the decimal? So if I have my 0.04 times 3, and that's, I'm going to move this over in a sec, and that's 2 decimal places. Okay, 4 times 3, that gives me 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 0 gives me 0, plus 1 gives me 1. Okay, 3 times 0, that gives me 0. So if this has 2 decimal places, this doesn't have any decimal places, that means my answer should be 2 decimal places, right? So if we're starting here on the end, that's 1, 2. So you have your 0.12. So once you take care of your 0.12, then you're going to multiply it with the 34,100. So if I go I'll make sure I can get it all in here. If I go 34,100 times 12 tenths, so this doesn't have any decimal places. This one has 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. And now we're going to do the ones. So 1 times 0 is 0. So anything times 1 is going to be itself. So that means you have 0, 0, 1, 4, 3. Add those two together. You have your 0, 0, 8, 7, 34. For some reason it looks weird. 1, 2, 3. I probably did something wrong. Hold on. Yep, I did. I mixed the two, didn't I? There we go. So this makes this a 2. This makes it a 9. There we go. This makes it a 0. And this makes it a 4. So I have 4, 0, 9, 2, 0, 0. And since we have 2 decimal places here, that means my answer has to have 2 decimal places. Starting here at the end, 1, 2. All I have is change left over, which is 0. That's what happened to your decimal place. So you have 4,092.00, which is the same as saying $4,092. Okay. All right. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, everyone. All right. Okay. Let's try another one. So that's what happened to the decimal. If you want to put 0.00, you can. Let me switch colors so we can tell the difference of the two. So if we have 20,600 and we're doing it at 8%, for 2 years. So this time our principal is 20,600. We're looking at 8% for 2 years. Hey, Lynette. Yeah, we're just working on simple interest. So for those that are coming in, you're like, ooh, but what's the formula for simple interest? Remember, it's going to be your interest is your principal, which is the P. That's what you start off with. Your R, your rate as a decimal, times your T in years. Not months, but years. Okay. So looking at our principal. Principal is what we're starting off with. So that's 20,600. Now, what is our rate? Because our rate is a percent. We need it as a decimal. What is 8% as a decimal? Good. Good stuff. 0.08. Mimi, 0.08. Jacqueline, 0.08. Mr. L. Hey, welcome back, Mr. L. Danny, how are you? 0.08. Okay, Steph, don't worry about him. I appreciate it. Anyone that's not willing to put their name out there makes me wonder. All right, so we have 0.08. Okay, then how many years that we're dealing with? So we're dealing with the 2 years. Okay, so all we're doing is multiplying all three. Okay, I'm okay. There you go, Lola. Good job. You addicted to my show? It is the addiction. Hey, it's not bad to be addicted to math. Now, if you change the A to another letter, yeah, we're going to need to have a little chit chat, right? You know, don't have to go that far. It's all right. Life is not all that crazy. Okay, good. I know, right? We're all one step away from just our life being all kinds of crazy. We're all one step away from it. Okay. So it all depends on how you want to combine it. You can do the 20,600 multiplied by 2 and then multiply by 0.8 or you can multiply the 800ths with the TH at the end, THS, times the 2 and then multiply it. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? Either way, it's going to be the same exact answer. And when you think you have your answer, go ahead and put it up in the comments. So I want to say Stephen or Stefan, depending on where you're from, saying 3,296. Okay, Jocelyn's saying 3,296. Okay, Lola saying 3,296. All right. Pretty is saying 3,296. Excellent, guys. Good. Okay. So Ben is saying 3,296. Good job. Nice one. Okay, nice one. All right. Let's see. Yes, I was just waiting. All right, Chaos. Good. 3,296. I know. I just like to give a little bit of time because we all know sometimes it takes a bit just to put our numbers in. All right. So taking it step by step. Let's see. All right. So let's try this one. Okay. Let's try this one. Yep, that's all we're doing. Yep. This actually might be a short one today. I'm going to see if I can get into compound. I think I will be. Just to kind of get that into it. So we have $2,400 at 10.5% for 3 months. Okay. Okay. So, couple things that needs to change. Okay, so we still have our formula. We got our interest times our principal times our rate times our time. So we all know that our principal, that's going to be the $7,400. All right. Now, what would be my rate as a true decimal? Okay, what would be my rate as a true decimal? Yes, Danny, good with the 7,400. But what would be my rate as a true decimal? Not quite, Danny. There's something else we got to do. Okay, Stephen, I want to say. All right, so Stephen has my 105,000th. Carla's saying 0.25. Tolman saying 105 thousandth. Jenny 105 thousandths. Justin with the 105 thousandths. And KK with the 105 thousandths. Jocelyn 105 thousandths. Lola 105 thousandths. There. One less decimal, Danny. I'm going to show you. Okay. So here's my thing. When our percent already has a decimal in there, we don't have to start at the decimal, at the percent sign. We need to start at the decimal. And if you count 1, 2, that means your rate is going to be at 0.105 or 105 thousandths. Okay. So if they give you a decimal, you're going to start at that decimal and move to the left 2 times. 1, 2. So that's why it's a decimal, and then it's 105. Okay? So that is going to represent your rate. Now, like I said earlier, our thing is in months right now, but your time should always be referred to in years. So 3 months is what fraction of a year? Okay, so Jocelyn with the 0.25. Learning accountant also. 0.25, yes. Stephen, 1/4, good. Lulu, 0.25. 0.25, Roy. JJ, 1/4, good. Rome, it's going to be 1/4, good. Little Treasure, 1/4. Stephen, 0.25, 1/4 simplified. There you go, Lola. Okay, Caribbean Queen, make sure it's a 0.25. It's a quarter, good. JJ or J squared. 3/12, but reduce it, we'll give you your 1/4. There you go, Danny. There it is. Okay, Brandon, we got the 1/4. There you go. 3/12 with my peacock feather. Just make sure you reduce it because it can. There you go. You got your 1/4. Nice. So you get to pick. Okay, I like to say it this way. You get to pick. If you're good with putting it as 1/4, you can put it as 1/4. If you're good at putting it as like almost like a quarter, like 0.25, you can do 0.25. Whichever makes it easy for you to multiply, okay? Because we all know if you try to do, let's say, 7,400 divided by 4, you probably could. Because if I had this as, and I'm going to put it as a different color above it, because I'm going to say 1/4 or 0.25. It's going to mean the same thing. The reason why I'm saying 1/4 or 0.25, because I can take 1/4 of this 7,400. If I want to, I could divide it by 4. So if I take, how many 4s can go into 7? Well, there's 1, giving me a remainder of 3. How many 4s can go into 34? That will be 8, because that's 32. So 34 minus 32 gives me 2. Bring down the 0, that makes it 20, right? And then say how many 4s can go into 20? Well, that's 5. And then how many 4s can go into 0? That would be 0. So we took care of this and this at the same time. Okay. All right. So because 1/4 is just the same as saying 7,400 divided by 4. So if I do that, my 4 is outside, 7,400 is underneath the division. So I know one group of 4 can go into 7. 7 minus 4 gives me 3. Then I bring down the next number. So then I ask, how many 4s can go into 34? That's 8. That gives me 32. So 34 minus 32, that gives me 2. Bring down the next digit, which is 0. How many 4s can go into 20? That's 5. And then I still have this other 0 to consider. So how many groups of 4 can go into 0? Well, that would be a 0. Okay, so that's how I got that 1850. So now all you have to do is take the remaining, that 1850, and multiply it by 0.105. You see how multiplication is key. Multiplication is key when it comes to sorry, my phone wanted to be weird. All right, you used to love math. All right, so if we multiply that by 0.105, let's see. So Justin's got my 195.25. Okay, WVUE, so my West Virginianer is saying my 194.25. Okay. All right, so Justin, we got you. Tim, we got you with the 194.25. Okay, K squared, 194.25. Thank you. I think, K, you were my first one. Yes, you were. No, Justin, and then K. Hey, Big Al, how are you? I'm just sneaking on through. All right, so Jocelyn, there we go. Willing to learn. Well, fast back forward, I love that attitude. You're willing to learn. I love that. Okay? Love that. So this is how much interest. So the key thing with all of this was to remember we need to, 1, change our percent to a decimal, and 2, if they give it to you in terms of months, remember it's always going to be referred to by years. So if they say 3 months, you're like, okay, well, how did everyone get that 0.25 or that 1/4? Well, remember, it's going to be 3 out of 12. Okay? So there's 12 months in a year. So 3 out of 12. They both have 3 in common. So if I divide the numerator by 3 and divide the denominator by 3, I'm going to get 1/4. 4th. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, let's try the next part. So that was simple interest. Once you know the principle, once you find, and especially in word problems, once you see the principle, underline it. If they say the starting amount or the deposit, that's your principle. Your rate, they always put it as a percent. Okay, underline that. And then you have to look at your time. They want you to do it in 10 years. They want you to do it in 7 months. They want you, well, they won't do 7 months. They're not that cruel. But most of the time they'll do 6, they'll do 3 months. Sometimes they'll do 9 months. But they will always do something part of a year. Okay? But sometimes they just throw you the years and you're like, oh, thank goodness, that's it. But when we have something called compound, so if they even say the word simple interest, that's what you would do before. But now I'm going to talk about compound interest. So compound interest, this is how many times a year you're going to get this interest rate. You're going to get these little bits of money. So it all depends on if they says compounded how often. So if they say, and let me put it over here. If they say annually, can't even spell today. If they say annually, that means 1 year. If they say semi-annual, they mean twice a year. Okay, so that's happening 2 times. If they say quarterly, that was the other one. That's happening 4 times a year. So what I'm basically listing for you is what's called the ends. And you'll see what I'm talking about once I put the formula together for you. So annually, semi-annually, quarterly. There is something that will say daily. And we all know daily, hopefully we do, is 365. Now, there is a difference between daily and continuously. And continuously, I'm not going to mention today, but I just want you to know. Continuously is a different equation all in itself. That's when you're starting to look at the exponential. I like to call it PERT. Remember that shampoo PERT back in the day? Maybe, maybe not. Well, back in the day, there was a shampoo called PERT. It was green, and I never understood that. But you have your principal, then you have your exponential, okay? Remember, E is actually a number, okay? You notice if any kind of word problems or any kind of phrases, you never see them use E or I's. Okay, if you don't believe me, let me go here. On my calculator, I'm going to put E raised to the first power, because we all know anything raised to the first power is itself. Zoom in a little bit. When I hit enter, it gives us a number. Okay, E is actually a number. All right, so this is why, instead of you trying to memorize all of this, which is not as bad as pi, I'm going to give you that, but that is being represented. So continuously doesn't mean every day. It means every second, every nanosecond. It's constantly gaining interest. Constant. No matter what. Okay, no matter if it's a holiday, no matter if it's a leap year and all this stuff, it's constantly going. It's constantly growing. Okay, growing or failing. So that's why a lot of people, when they see constantly, they think it means daily. No, that's two separate worlds all in itself. All right. So daily would be like 365. Quarterly, you don't see that too often. You'll see probably these more often. And sometimes you may see something that says continuously. That's a different formula all in itself. Okay. All right. No, I don't. With the real estate. Okay. So, if we are given a situation, so let me give you one. So let's say we have $7,300 at 7%. Compounded, I think I want to say semi-annually. I'm going to put it underneath. And we're going to say that for 3 years. Now, the formula is also going to be a little different. So when we're looking at our compound interest, let me flip over for a second. So compound interest is going to give us this formula here. We have our principal, and it's going to be 1 plus the rate over how many times it's going to happen in a year, raised to the number of times it's happening in a year times how many years, the T for the time. Okay, so let me flip this over so I can help you fill it in. So we have our principal times 1 plus our rate over n raised to the nt. Okay, so that's going to be your formula that you're going to use for each and every one of these. And I actually saw this on the ASVAB practice test, on one of them. So if this is my formula, we're starting with the principal. This is our starting amount. So that's $7,300. Then we have the 1, because we're counting what we're starting with. Then we have our rate. What is our rate as a decimal? We have it as 7%. What would that be as a decimal? Okay, 0.07. Good. Okay, anytime it's a whole number, start where the percent sign is, move over 1, 2 decimal places. So that's where that 0.07 is. Over our n. So how many times a year is this being compounded? And it's saying semi-annual. So semi means it's happening 2 times a year. So we're putting a 2 for our n. So the same 2 goes up here as an exponent. And they want to know for how many years. It's going to be for 3 years. Okay. Now, the question that I saw on the ASVAB basically had the setup. Okay, they didn't really give me the actual numbers, but since we're here and we all have calculators, we can probably figure out what the actual interest is going to be. So, just like PEMDAS, okay, because everybody's like, I don't know where to start. Just like PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or if we're international, I forgot what it's called. Here we are. Okay, international is BODMAS. But here in the States, we have please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we need to do the parentheses first. So inside the parentheses from left to right, we have addition and we have division. Let's tackle that division first. Okay. I don't know what she did, but everybody, says excuse her. She's like, oh, I just, did a little arson. No, I don't know. Okay, so inside this parenthesis, so let's bring this down. 7,300. Then we have 1 plus. Now, 700ths divided by 2, that will give me, thank you, Jocelyn, my 0.035. Okay. All right. And since we're adding 1 to this, we don't need a calculator. 1 is a whole number. Over here is a decimal. So that means that's taking us to 1.035. Okay. Let me bring down the 7,300. So we took care of everything inside the parenthesis. Our exponent was 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3, that will give us 6. So that means our exponent is raised to the 6th power. Okay, let me bring it down here. Yes, good, Danny. All right. Hey, Janice. So now we're going to take this answer that's inside the parenthesis, because here we have multiplication and we have an exponent. Remember, please excuse, we did the parenthesis. We have the exponent. So we need to raise this 1.035 to the 6th power. Okay, we need to do that before we multiply. Okay, please. And you're going to get a nice, sweet, long decimal. Okay. Oh, thank you. So did you guys get a decimal like 1.229255326, something like that? A nice long decimal. So I don't like to round until the very end. That's just me. Because when I round here, I'm taking away from the true value of the answer. And since we're dealing with money, I want every single solitary cent that's supposed to come to me. So once we have this, all you have to do is say times 7,300. Now, when you get your answer, you should be rounding. Okay, let me see if we can get this. So when I have in the calculator, once I got my answer, raised it to the 6th power, I got this lovely long decimal. But then when I multiply it by the 7,300, then I have this as my answer. But we're dealing with money. So if we're dealing with money, what is my cents? Okay, Jocelyn's saying $8,973.56. Do we agree with her? Danny says yes. Fastback saying no. Big Al saying my change is 56 cents. Okay, Rebel saying, you're saying 55. Okay. Okay, Rebel saying yes. Okay, it's 0.56. Hey, Kai, how are you? All right, Sharon's saying yes. Okay, so take a look. It's not going to be 55 because if I come over, this is the 3. So if thing is 5 and above, give it a shove. It doesn't subtract. You're not subtracting. You're either leaving it alone or you are adding to it. Since this is a 3, that means we're going to leave it alone. 4 and below, leave it alone. So that means 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. So we're going to keep it with the 56 cents. So your A is going to equal $8,973.56. And I shouldn't say equals, I should say approximately, because we did do some rounding. Okay, but when I do these, I like to do my rounding at the end. Okay, all right, you see it? Good, Jimbo, good. All right, so let's try another one. You guys can keep tapping. Let's do this one. $21,000 at 13.6%. Compounded. So the key word to know which formula to do, if they say compounded, we're looking at the compound interest. Okay, anytime they have that word compounded, that's what you're doing. If they say simple interest, then you're just going to be multiplying. And again, the formula will be your principal times 1 plus your rate over your n raised to the nt. We're going to do one more after this, and that one I'm going to leave you alone. Because I know some people are like, I got it. Let me cook. I'm like, all right. Okay, this math makes you happy? Okay. All right, Vinny, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. I know I'm going to have to skedaddle soon too, but I'm going to do one more after this one. All right. So we have our principal. So our principal in this case is going to start off with the $21,000 times 1 plus. Now, my rate. What is my rate as a true decimal? Put it in the chat. This is like Algebra 1. Okay, addicted to success. Abdissa. Okay, Caribbean Queen. All got my 136 thousandths. 136 thousandths. Good. And everybody's like, I'm just trying to calculate it, Audrey. All right. So it's going to be that rate over the number of times it's happening. it's saying quarterly. So quarterly, that means it's happening 4 times out of the year. Then we still have this 4, and they're saying how many years? They're saying for 4 years. Okay. The stock market, good. Okay. Pre-calc? No, actually, this is actually Algebra 1. All right. So, always, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally when you're trying to work on this. So you're trying to figure out, all right, what's going on in the middle? So we have 1 plus, we have our 136 hundredths divided by 4. So we need to tackle that division first. Oh, they put in Algebra 2? Yeah, this is usually Algebra 1. Okay, good, good. Then when we add 1 to that, what do we get? I'm going to put it down here to give myself some room. Yep. Okay, good. All right, excellent. So now we took care of the parenthesis. Okay. I learned this in Algebra 1 back in the day. Maybe I was doing advanced students, I don't know. That's all right. So we got 4 times 4. That means my exponent is going to be to the 16th. So we did inside the parenthesis. Now we're going to work with the exponent. So you're not multiplying that 2100. You're basically taking your decimal and raising it to the 16th power. Yeah, I don't even know that off the top of my head. Now try not to round your decimal at this point. Okay, we do not want to shortchange yourself. Okay, so if you got something fun like that, from here, if you're putting in your calculator, type times, then type the 21,000. Yeah, always round it to the end. Always round to the end. Okay. Always round to the end. So this one, I'm going to have my approximate sign because we are going to round. So once you get your decimal and then you multiply it by the 21,000, roughly what do we get? All right, so Jenny is saying $35,854.85. Okay, Jocelyn said the same thing. Okay, there's some bits missing. There's something missing. Okay, Pretty is saying the same thing. Good. And I totally agree. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So roughly that's your amount. Okay, good, T. Nice. All right. All right. So, one more, and then I'm going to let you do that one. And then we're going to end it on the good note. Let's see. Okay, so this is the one I want you guys to do. And then hold your answers because I want to see your final answer all together. So we have $130 at 9.4% compounded quarterly for 2 years. Okay, let me lower it down a little bit so you can see the formula that we're using, which is highlighted in yellow up at the top. So the compound interest is what you're getting how many times a year, whereas the simple interest is just like a one-off. Okay. Right? I'll definitely take that too, right? Why one? Oh, why the one? Because you have to include your process of that 1 year out of that one. What N? N is how many times a year it's being compounded. So is it being compounded, like say annually, it'll be 1 time. Semi-annually would be 2 times. Quarterly would be 4 times. Daily would be 365. So that's what the N's for. Addicted. Jumped the gun a little bit. All right. Okay, we're going to put our answers up in 5 seconds. All right. If you have an answer, go ahead and put it in the comments. So we already know addicted is $156.55. Jenny agrees with the $156.55. I know I'm gonna do it, Jenny, but I'm gonna do it later. I'm trying to like resist the urge. Jocelyn is doing $156.55. Okay, Big Al. All right, Big Al, I got you. I do it with like all my friends named Jen too, so it annoys them, but they love it. So 156.55, good. As your punky pine. Okay, and remember, if you're like, I don't know how to do it, put a question mark. Okay, remember, question mark is also an answer. Okay, and it's perfectly fine. All right. Oh, thanks for the follow, Kimbo. You do? It's that power move. I mean, it's just like you go out and be like, Jenny! You know, throw your drink on the ground. If anyone tries to like do anything, get the power move. All right, Sharon, I got you. Okay, and question mark, got you. All right, so this is how they're getting their answers. So remember, we have our A. So we got our principal, which was the $130. That's what we start off with. Then we do 1 plus the rate. Now, the rate, let me raise it up a little bit. The rate, it has a decimal in there. So you start at the decimal point and you move it over 2 times to the left. 1, 2. So your rate is actually going to be 0.094. Okay, and it's over how many times it's being compounded in 1 year. So they say quarterly. So quarterly means it's happening 4 times. So that same n we're going to put up here. And it's multiplied by our t, and our t is how many years. So it's already with 2 years. So we don't have to do any conversion. But my suggestion, people, make sure you take your time, because if this says months, we got to change it equivalent to years. Okay, so whatever months it is, put it over 12. If it says it's compounded 4 months, then it's 4 over 12, and 4/12 is equal to 1/3. Okay, like a third of the year. So now we have to do inside the parenthesis. So if we do inside the parenthesis, we have to figure out we have to do the division first. What is 0.094 divided by 4? So that gives us 0.02235. Whoops. And then we're going to add 1 to that. So then that gave us 1.0235. Then we're going to tackle the exponent. So it's 4 times 2, so that'll be to the 8th. And we're bringing down the 130. Now, don't multiply the 130 to our parenthesis. No. Exponents comes before multiplication or division. Okay, that's that whole PEMDAS thing. So if we raise this to the 8th power, we're going to have a nice long decimal. Now, you don't have to necessarily write your decimals, especially when you're taking this test or any kind of test that allows you with a calculator, SAT, ACT, okay, some parts of T's tests, okay. Do not round. Save your rounding until the end. So now that you have this lovely decimal in your calculator, just hit times 130. So if you times 130, then you get 156.547497. Well, we only need change. Change only goes up to the 100th position. So that means we need to look at the next unit over. which is the 7. So remember, if it's 5 and above, we're going to give it a shove. So that's a 7. So we're going to add 1 to that 4. That's how they got the 55. So our answer for this is going to be $156.55. Nope, we're not using PRT because keyword is compounded. Anytime they say compounded, we're using this formula. If they say simple interest, you can use PRT. Okay? There's a huge difference, XYZ Steve. All right. Yep. It's definitely for simple. And they'll actually put it into the word problems. They say they're using a simple interest. All right, boom. If they're saying simple, that means we're using PRT. If they say anything that is compounded semi-annually, oh, okay, or compounded monthly, I forgot about that one. Let me put that in my list, okay, because sometimes that happens as well. If they say compounded monthly, that means that's happening 12 times because there's 12 months in 1 year. Okay, so that's going to be what our N values are. So if they say annually, it's happening 1 time. If they say semi-annually, it's happening 2 times. Quarterly, 4 times. Daily, 365. Continuous, that's another equation all in itself. Okay, and then monthly is 12. Okay, yes it is. Okay. 2 years and 2 months, 2 years and 5 months. So that means you're going to put that 5 over 12 and you're going to figure out what is that decimal equivalent. So you're going to have to do the division of 5/12, which gives you this whole lovely 0.4. Right. So that is what you're going to tack on to the 2. So you're going to have to convert it to make it be equivalent to years. Okay. Okay. So if they gave you 7 months, it'll be 7 out of 12 because there's 12 months in a year. Everything is being referred to for a year. And that's what you do, Jenny. You got it. Not a problem. Okay. All right. Questions. I know you guys have been asking questions throughout, but you guys have any additional questions? All right. Awesome. And thank you for getting me to 50K. That's wonderful. Thank you. I know some of you guys probably have carpal tunnel. All this tapping. I mean, I'm telling you, your forearm is probably like this part of your arm is probably strong. All that tapping you be doing. It's my strong hand. Oh my goodness. Before TikTok, what would we do as training? Yes, I will try to put it on tonight, Big Al. Alrighty. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. Today is what, Tuesday? So tomorrow at 6:30, I'm actually going to be doing, I think it's like SAT prep questions. If you want to come in, you can come on in. I'm just taking a sampler from an SAT, and I'm just going to be doing that for about an hour. So that is a free thing. And then back again on Thursday. Thursday, what did I say I was going to do? Thursday, I was going to do factoring when our leading coefficient is a 1. Okay. Okay. Can't to rewatch. What are you talking about? Oh, can't wait to rewatch. Okay, gotcha. I was like, huh? Test Square, what's going on? Yes. So give me a moment to upload it, and hopefully TikTok is behaving, and then we can do that. So actually I can change this name from Simple Interests, and I'm going to change it to Compound. All right, so I know a lot of you guys have already bought the books. Thank you so much. And then also, if you are interested in the courses, my courses are available, ready to rock and roll, because before you know it, it's time for you to take a test. And if you say math is not your forte, hey, taking the course will help you out tremendously. And then as well as if you're about to take the test soon, and when I mean soon, I'm saying like within a month, and you want us to sit down and just do like some kind of previewing, just let me know. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay? All right. I said tonight at 10. I'm going to try, but I don't know. It depends on what's happening. All right. Okay. All right. Got it? You got it? My money won't fold. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. All around. Okay. All right. No problem. I was like, what are we doing? All right. So everyone have a lovely evening. I'll probably see you guys tomorrow evening for more fun and entertainment. And again, if anybody needs a tutor, they're thinking about it. I'm starting to get popular now, which is awesome. I love when people left and now they're like, nope, we tried it, didn't like it. We're coming back to you, Miss Audrey. I'm like, all right. So again, if you are new, can't do that. Here we go. If you're new, this is where you're going to go to get the replays. Okay, so you're like, everyone's talking about YT. What's YT? Oh. And if you go there and you could do all 5 of these, that will be awesome. But if you're also, you can just do a quick screenshot. I'm going to turn it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So also for my services, okay, we have private small group tutoring. I have courses for GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, TEAS. You're going to want to do the foundations to algebra. If you're a homeschool parent and your child's about to go into algebra, or maybe you want to teach your child algebra, but it's been a long time, like we're talking like zygote, like early stages before the fetus, that you've seen this math and you want to, I know, I took it that far. Then you want to look at the foundations of algebra. It's 107 videos starting from the different types of numbers all the way up to rational numbers, which gives us a little glimpse of algebra 2. There is a little bit of geometry in there. Not so much the constructions, but mostly like the basics, saying area, circumference, and perimeter, as well as volume, surface area, and then we have Pythagorean's theorem and trig. And the other thing that we have is data analysis. I can't even speak anymore. I have to speak because I'm about to go. I got another student. Data analysis, so the measures essential tendencies, how to read a graph, using the 5-point summary, or you guys call it box plots. All of that is on there, and if you are interested, you can just go here. And if you're like, okay, Audrey, I can't really copy all that, well, no problem. The action movement, it's here. Okay, I can't even say that because I get dinged for that. All right. Okay. All righty then. All right, everyone. I am going to skedaddle, get myself ready for my next person, and I think that's it. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and DM me. I greatly appreciate it. Or if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's something called a Service Plus. If you click on that, you can actually send me a direct message. Okay, so you can actually email me through that directly if you don't want to keep going back and forth with the TikTok. All right, but I will, if we're not friends, I do check into the request section. And please, people, don't just say hi. I'm going to delete you, because I got too many scammers that want to say hi. They want me to make me into their sugar baby, or they're interested in me being their sugar mama. And once I see hi, I don't want to continue on the conversation. Okay? Please. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Okay? All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye now.